that we tend to focus on the technology. When in fact, if you look at broad society, there's a lot of security that happens at a much more personal level. The obvious one would be laws, but less obvious are things like moral codes. I mean, if you steal my stuff, you feel bad. And you feeling bad is a security mechanism that we as a species have evolved to help society work. And what I want to tell this audience is that we need to think about security more broadly, that evoking morals or reputation is likely to make us more secure, especially as the internet becomes more social. Right? As we're just doing more social things, we should look at more of that social level security.
Fair enough. And then just target devil's advocate. In the beginning, everybody stole music with Napster because it was socially acceptable. Nobody felt bad. And then Apple, through iTunes, made us feel bad about stealing, so now Apple's the world's biggest company. Is that the kind of flip that you're trying to see with security?
That's actually an interesting example. People stole music because it was the social norm. It's not that it wasn't illegal. It's that there was this counterbalancing social norm that says it's okay to do this. And what Apple did is less make you feel bad and more make it easy not to and make it cheap not to. Songwriters bypassed the labels. Right. And the songwriters went to their fans and said, hey, if you want us to make this music, you got us to throw us a few bucks. Because if you don't, we can't afford to do it. So there's a lot of things going on there. It's a really interesting example.
So what is the corollary in security then? Because is there an iTunes Apple type model that can apply to security so everyone will just say, hey, look, instead of not doing or instead of spamming or instead of doing something, this will be the new social norm, and if we don't do it, we'll feel bad?
I think there are a lot of things going on. For example, we know from psychological research that people are less likely to steal from other people if they know them as human beings and not as sort of abstract names.
Sure.
Right? I'm less likely to steal from you than from a stranger.
Yeah.
So here's a question I have. If I put people's photographs on their banking websites, would there be less fraud? That's an interesting question. That's researchable. And my guess is it would be less. Would it be a lot less? Probably not. Would it be a little less? Probably. Would it be worth it? Definitely. That research hasn't been done. So there's an example of applying a social level security system to a technological problem. And I believe there are hundreds of those things that if we started thinking more broadly, eBay, reputational-based security. You cheat somebody, you get bad feedback. Interesting mechanism. They don't prevent cheating technically. What they do is they set up a reputation system. There's an example of a social-based security system solving a technical problem. Can we do more of that? Maybe. Right? We're seeing some of that done with the Facebook fraud. Yeah. Right? I steal your Facebook account. I claim I'm, trapped in Bolivia, and I need you to wire money to me. Right? If we could have some kind of social network saying, "Hey, this is fraud. Don't do it," suddenly things pop up. Would that help? Almost certainly. So those are the sorts of things I'm thinking about.
Good. And then when we talk about nation-state activities where morality may or may not play into it and they're trying to steal something.
Right.
And probably doesn't. And maybe it's a different culture and they have different morality for whatever reason. What then? Is there some kind of moral card to play, some sort of humanity social good, or is that not a universal constant?
I think it is. And over the long term, like go back to history, the past 500 years, 1,000 years, countries have gotten much more moral in their dealings with each other.
Sure.
It's not universal, it's not across the board. In the United States, it is illegal to bribe. If you go to a country where bribery is legal and do business there, it's illegal for you to bribe.
Yeah.
And so there's an example of us putting ourselves at a competitive disadvantage because of a moral code. Now we can argue whether that's a good idea or not. It's breached. There are lots of back channel ways this is breached. But by and large, that works. Money laundering. We don't invade foreign countries nearly as much as we did centuries ago. So slowly, in the main, even international relations get more moral. Now, is that going to make a difference in the next 5 months? Certainly not.
Sure.
Will it in the next 2 generations? Guaranteed. So some of this you have to look over the long haul. Some of these answers aren't going to be there when you're dealing with banking fraud in 2012.
Right.
I mean, you're stuck. Or, Chinese industrial espionage in the next 5 years. But fast forward 50 years, there'll be less industrial espionage. But there's less now than there was 50 years ago.